Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome. Gosh, it's 8 o'clock on a Monday night. Do you know where your children are? No, that used to be back in my days when I was a child. They used to at 10 o'clock say, "Do you know where your children are?" Reminding all the parents that their children should be home. Well, we're starting a new book tonight, another one of James Jones's books, and I just love his writing. Fantastic information. Let me share some information with you. It's kind of personal. Um, as you know, I've had three esophageal surgeries in the last 8 years. And so it just so happens I had this cough. And I've been asking every doctor there was. And finally, I was walking out of the pulmonologist office and I got a text from my esophagus, my GI doctor. He said, "Have you developed a cough?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah." So I called him and, "Yeah, I've developed a cough." He says, "Okay." I went in, he said, "Okay, there's an 85% chance I can cure that with this next surgery," which had been the third surgery on the esophagus. It didn't work. Um, then I went back and a short while later and had a fourth surgery on the esophagus. And so it's still, I'm still coughing up a storm. So I went and talked to my general practitioner. I said, "It feels like somebody's always got a hold of my esophagus, up in here, choking me." And he said, "Well, that sounds like it's thyroid. So let's do an MRI of your thyroid." So they did an MRI. I'm so sorry. An MRI of my thyroid about 3 weeks ago, and it caught the top of my lung. And so when they got the top of my lung, the report came back and said that there was a 6 millimeter spot on my lung. And so I thought, okay. So I talked to my doctor. He put in a request for a lung MRI. And it just so happened the following day I had an appointment with my pulmonologist, and he said, "That's a good thing. I'll wait for the results." So we got the MRI was done on at 6 p.m. on Veterans Day, and was waiting for the results because they always post the results, on your My Chart within 48 hours, and they never posted it. And finally on Thursday, they said, "You have an appointment with your pulmonologist at 9 o'clock Tuesday morning," which was a week ago tomorrow. So that really had me scared, and went in and saw him, and he showed me everything in the MRI, and turns out it's not cancerous, thank God. So that's the good news. The bad news is it is emphysema. So that's the price of having paid for smoking when I was in the army. But so the cough is going to be here forever, it seems like. So I apologize for that. I apologize for the inconvenience. I will try to cover myself up so you don't have to listen to it. But just one of those punishments for poor decisions made in my youth. And so I apologize for that. Okay, let's see who's here. I think it was Scott Hummer was first. Thank you, Scott. And then Patty's Garden. Gosh, I think I can do better without the glasses. Patty's Garden, and then North Carolina Douglas. Good evening. I believe that's what NC stands for. And let me see. Doxer, good to see you, my friend. Is that Kaylin? I was just watching yours, trying to catch up from missing it Sunday evening. I apologize for that. We decided to go out to dinner, so uh, instead of watching you do spaghetti, I was we went to a Mexican restaurant, and I was having chili rellenos. So, but I am trying to catch up on it now. So, Theoxorus, Kaylin, Kinzel. I'm sorry, Kinzel 126. Good evening and welcome. Good to see you as well. Cats and prepping. Good evening. Rogue Gypsy 7827. That's a new name. Good evening. Good to see you. Uh, I do have a new pair of glasses around here somewhere that should be a lot better. Yes, I'm wearing a jacket. My wife and I tolerate different temperatures, and so she likes to keep the house around 65, and I don't. So I put on a jacket and accommodate her. Little Lone Prepper and Utah Mike. And I think that looks like it's it for right now. I did have a discussion earlier with Triple G, And so that was good. And Little Lone Prepper, Gypsy, Kinzel. All right. Okay. So it looks like that's everybody for right now. 16 watching, 9 likes, and we're there. So thank you for all being here. New book, 150 Survival Secrets. The way I look at it is if we do 10 a night, that's going to be about 6 minutes per question. If we do 15, that's going to be about 4 minutes per question. By the time you throw in introductions and outgoes and everything else, that doesn't leave us too much time to discuss each one. We'll see what we can do. We'll see how far we get. So let's get into it. He starts off with what is a survivalist and what is the difference between a survivalist and a prepper. So we've gone through a long litany of things because Mr. Jones and I started pretty much the same time. He started writing and he formed the website, well, not the website, but he formed the organization, AmericanSurvivor.org. This is error. More than one ingestion is using the primary URL. So I don't know what that means. Send one stream to the primary. I've only got one up. So let me check here and see if I do have another one up here somewhere. Nope, I don't. I've only got one. Can you still hear me and see me? So, let's see what that error means. Okay. So anyhow, so we used to call ourselves survivalists, and that was basically because we were going to be surviving in a bunker. The primary purpose we had back then, this was during the Cold War and during the Cuban Missile Crisis especially. So we had cinder block fallout shelters in our backyards and everything else. We figured we'd call ourselves survivalists. That is, we would survive the nuclear holocaust. Things kind of changed a little bit. I guess you see the major fallout. It was about 1970, 1971, they came out with the Foxfire series. And the Foxfire series started getting people a little bit more interested in homesteading. We didn't change names, we didn't change groupings or anything else like that. Just a survivalist also realized that they had to also take on more of a homesteading type of a genre. And so that kind of stayed where the quote homesteading group, the quote survivalist group, we were all the same group. And we didn't really start differentiating with ourselves until Rambo movie. So with the Rambo movie, all of a sudden a survivalist was a person who went out into the woods all by themselves and survived out in the woods. So a bug out person. Nobody had even thought about bugging out until Rambo movies. Everybody was pretty much concerned about hunkering down and how we were going to take care of things. So we didn't really have that split until Rambo. And then something that's happened just in the last 5 years is all of a sudden what used to be you had the bug out group, you had the hunker down group, and you had the homestead group. So now the hunker down group, for some reason, in the last 5 years, people have changed the name to bug in, and which makes no sense to me whatsoever. But that's what they're calling it. So I'm going to continue to call it the hunker down, bug out, homestead groups. And, I think there's a little bit of overlap among all of them. I don't think that any one person is going to be 100% any one of the three. So that's kind of the history of that. Is survivalism / prepping political? What do you think? I'm going to say yes and no. There was a question on Facebook earlier today, and the guy wanted to know if we are into prepping because of false patriotism to the president. And I said, well, I started this in 1963 during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So does that mean that my prepping is a false patriotism to JFK? Oh, by the way, we just celebrated, or didn't celebrate, that's a terrible way to put that. We just recognized the 62nd anniversary of his assassination in Dallas, 22nd of November, 1963. It was about noon El Paso time. I was scheduled to go on my first Boy Scout camp out, and it got canceled because of the assassination. But that was horrible. I mean, we got to watch a little bit of it live on TV there at the school. We had one TV in the lunchroom, and so we were kind of herded into there because we thought that that this was right after the Cuban Missile Crisis. So there's still a lot of that feeling, anxiety. Was it the Soviet Union? Was it Cuba? Was it a lot of different things? And of course, there was the Lee Harvey Oswald Soviet connection, and so that there was all kinds of stuff. But anyhow, no, it's not. It's not political for me. Now, it may be political for some of you. I don't know. It does seem that there are hills and troughs as far as people wanting to get prepared. I watched a video earlier today, and it was a news reporter from Great Britain, and he was in Portland and Seattle asking people about Antifa. And golly, I mean, oh wow, those guys are violent. I would say, yeah, to them, everything is political. Yes. So, I mean, it is what it is. Take it for what it is. If you think it's political, more power to you. If you don't think it's political, more power to you. I think that there are, those who are going to be politically inspired by it and those who aren't. What items should a survivalist carry at all times to help survive unexpected emergencies? He's talking about your EDC. He says a single blade switchblade or pocket knife, a multi-blade Swiss Army knife, or a multi-tool. So that's an either or. That are all good options. I will tell you, when I was in Boy Scouts, we were recommended that we always carry a dime so that we could make a phone call at a public phone booth. A piece of string so we could tie something together if necessary, and a pocket knife. So that was the EDC that was preached to us by the Boy Scouts back in the 60s. He also recommends miniature flashlights, whistles, bandanas, fire starting devices, an N95 dust or mist respirator, aspirin, and weapons. Now, I will tell you, I'm reading a fantastic book, After the Flash. And he's a retired Navy lieutenant commander, or lieutenant colonel equivalent. Gosh, what a fantastic book. All kinds of websites to go to, all kinds of supporting data, just unbelievable resources. I mean, this book shows the facts and data, whereas the Annie Jacobson book was all scaremongering. Okay. So just unbelievable. He says he recommends you not invest in a respirator, an N95 mask. I mean, a gas mask. He recommends that an N95 respirator or facial covering is sufficient to protect you from fallout. And what you want to do is you want to protect your lungs from ingesting any of the fallout particles. Don't want to get in your eyeballs and your nose and your mouth and your ears. So anywhere where there's an orifice where it can't get ingested into your body, don't let it. And he says that an N95 respirator is sufficient for that. Cats and prepping. Did I say hello to you, Butch Graves? I think I did. Let me see. Did we have somebody else new here? Suzanne Goulet, I just saw come in. All right. Have a fire starting device. I used to carry a Zippo all the time. If you overfill a Zippo, you've got a little bit of a leak of the lighter fluid that can burn your leg. Not in the sense of a first or second or third degree burn, but in the sense of a rash, an allergy to the lighter fluid. However, I switched over to carrying a Bic probably, I want to say I was at NSA, so it had to be about 1972 when I switched over from a Zippo to a Bic. And I was a Bic carrier up until the time I quit smoking. But if I now, almost everything in my, well, no, I can't say that. That would be a falsehood. I want to say I have 5 Zippos set aside and probably a dozen canisters of Zippo lighter fluid. Aspirin. Mr. Jones Mr. Jones is an EMT, and he recommends everybody carry a baby aspirin at all times. He says it is the best first aid if you are in the throes of having a heart attack. So, carry he says he would make that mandatory EDC for every person in the U.S. Carry an aspirin on you at all times. If you think you're having a heart attack, pop in an aspirin. He says it's just unbelievable how that can help you. Number 5, how can a survivalist evaluate his or her level of personal preparedness? Whole bunch of questions, okay, with multiple choice answers. You answer those appropriately. There are 10 questions. You give yourself a score from anywhere from 0 to 40, and so then depending upon where your score, 0 to 100, depending upon where your score is, it tells you your level of preparation. Is learning to start a fire with flint and steel or a fire bow a must-have survival skill? Truth be told, if you have plenty of matches, Zippos, Bics, ferrocerium rod and knife, if you have a Fresnel lens, if you have all these fire starting kits, tools, then having flint and steel or a fire bow, not necessarily a must-have. There are probably about 20 different ways to start a fire. If you've got 18 of them covered, I wouldn't worry about the last 2, to be totally honest with you. I'd probably focus somewhere else. Where should a survivalist keep survival packs and equipment? And I'm going to say where you can get to them in case you need to evacuate. It's that simple. Cats and Prepping says you can get individually packaged aspirin at Amazon. Absolutely correct. And just carry that in your wallet or whatever. Mountain Survival 1, hello, good evening, welcome, good to see you. Those little, gosh, that was even smaller than the Altoid tins. Yeah, they were just a little bitty, kind of, you pushed on one corner with your thumb and it would open up. Yeah, great idea. Yeah, I do wish they still had those. What's the difference between an evacuation pack or an I'm never coming home bag, inch bag, people call it, as described by FEMA, and a true survival pack? He gets into great detail on that. So what we see the EDC, everyday carry. To me, EDC is what's in my pockets, as well as I carry a blue shopping bag. And that's very nondescript. So it looks like I just have a little shopping bag in my hands. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. I might show that to you next week. Then the next one above that is you want to have a get-home bag. Now, your get-home bag, most of us commute to and from work, probably an hour distance away. Here in the greater Austin metro area, an hour commute can be 3 or 4 miles. I-35 is just super packed. That's probably the only main. You got MOPAC, and which stands for Missouri Pacific or Texas Highway 1, and I-35 are the 2 main north-south roads. We've now got a toll road on the far east end of town. So there's 3 north-south roads, but it's clogged. It is clogged going north and south, regardless of where you think you want to go. I saw a picture from the space shuttle, and it says, even the space shuttle can see traffic jams on I-35. And so it shows the stream of headlights going between Temple Belton down to Georgetown, Round Rock, Pflugerville, Austin, down into Buda, New Braunfels, all the way down to San Antonio. That whole stretch is just nothing but solid headlights. It is. It's a traffic jam. I don't know if you know it or not, but between Katy and Houston, it's 12 lanes each direction. So anyhow, so we got the get-home bag, and it's what I used to carry in my car. I actually converted my old bug-out bag to my get-home bag. Bug-out bag, which is something in the Army we called those for our family members. They were called non-combatant evacuation bags, NEO bags. And so if the commies crossed the border, they had a bag they could grab at the door with their passport and everything else, along with their orders. They could get on our 39-passenger bus, go to Rhein-Main Airport, and hopefully be flown out before it got blown up. And so that the Neo bag for the Army is what we call a bug out bag. This is a 72-hour bag. If you go to the FEMA website, so it's the same thing. Oh, gosh, you said that. Suzanne, good comment. BC powders, which is the same thing basically as a aspirin, are easy to carry as well. Yes, they are. Great suggestion. Thank you. And Kaylin says that she rides city buses, so her bag is set up for that purpose. Absolutely. Mountain Survival One, thank you for doing that. So we have, I volunteer at Santa Rosa de Lima. In my opinion, I've been helping with food pantries and things like that since I was 18 years old. I'm a member of St. Vincent de Paul, and then I was a member of Society of St. Stephen when I was with my wife at her church. Gosh, let me tell you that. Thank you for doing that. That is critical. I think we need more people. I know Kaylin volunteers at her mosque, but whatever we can do to help people who are less fortunate than we are is extremely important. And donations too. So there are 3 things you can donate. Look at that German way. You can volunteer. You can give your time, volunteer. You can give your treasure, which is your money, or you can give your talent, which is skills. So, everybody has either time, talent, or treasure that they can donate for the good of the poor and those who are less well off than we are. So thank you for doing that, Mountain Survival One. Talks about what goes into a basic evacuation pack or a Neo bag or a bug out bag, if you want to call it that. got a full page of stuff on that. I am going to see if I can alleviate some of this discomfort that I'm giving you. Let's see if a Ricola cough drop will help this at all. I doubt it since but we'll try it. We will try it. So he gives you not only the bug out bag, but he also gives you what should go into a basic survival pack, which is going to be an inch bag, basically, and I'm never coming home bag. That goes on for about 3 pages. Here's some that are going to be tough. Let's see how people react to this. Sumi, welcome. Good to see you. I'm glad you made it home. I hope that means you made it home safe. L-Dog 4594. Good to see you as well. Triple G. That's Triple G Farms. I believe that's Triple G. Is that LDO Triple G 4594? Is that Triple G? Okay, I'm going to ask your opinion on this one. Number 11. Is breaking into homes or looting justifiable under survival conditions? What do you think? I see a no. Okay. I have a real good friend up in Lampasas, Triple G Farms, and so I thought that might be another way of his. Would rather avoid that, Galen says. So let me tell you my opinion, okay? And this is something he doesn't get into as far as what's right or wrong. We aren't going to do that. I will tell you, I call it 4 S's and a B, okay? Let's talk about the B first. The B is barter. So I might be able to do something for you in exchange for something you have, okay? That assumes that the other person has oversight and control over whatever it is, okay? Now let's get into the 4 S's. There are two that are absolutely, in my opinion, morally wrong. The first one is seize. Seize means that the other person has it on their possession and you forcibly take it from them while it is in their possession. Okay? So I go up, I see you have a nice jacket, it's cold, I want it. I say, give me your jacket or else, and I seize it from you. So I'm basically forcibly stealing it from you, forcing it under duress. Okay? So that's seizing. That is definitely immoral. Okay? The next one is to steal. Okay? So to steal means that it is still in somebody's possession, but they don't have physical control over it, and you're able to pilfer it while they are not exercising physical control over it. So I put my jacket down on the ground. I turn around. While I'm turned around, you take my jacket. That is stealing. That is also, in my opinion, morally wrong, morally reprehensible. Okay, so we covered two of the S's. And I said there's four. So next one, next one is to scavenge, which is what I think this question is about. We're a couple months into SHDF. I've run out of food. I know that most of the people in the neighborhood have passed away from starvation or whatever. Can I still, even though there is no longer any physical control over it and there's no property ownership on any of it, can I go in and take that? Okay, so that is scavenging. I'm going to go in and take something from somebody. Did Triple G Farms show up? Yeah, he did. Hello, Triple G. I just confused somebody else with you. So, but anyhow, so scavenging, that is taking something from someone who doesn't own it, okay, for my use. And also means that I need it. Nobody else needs it. I'm the first one to find it. That's acceptable. Okay. The last one is to scrounge. So the last S is to scrounge. So that means I'm just going out looking for something. I may not absolutely need it right now, but it looks like it may be useful in the future. It's not under anybody's ownership. It's not under anybody's possession. I take it. I'm going to take it back and put it somewhere where maybe I could use it in the future. A little bit more ambiguous. Remember with scavenging, I'm taking something I need. With scrounging, I'm taking something I may need in the future, but don't need right now. So that's that limitation. So scrounging, I possibly. It all depends on the situation. But certainly seizing and stealing are wrong. Bartering and scavenging are okay, and scrounging is not. So there was on that Facebook page I told you about, prepping for the long term. The question was that you're walking along, or somehow or other you come upon somebody's cash. You know who it belongs to, and is it okay to take it, or do you leave it? A lot of debate over that. My personal opinion, and what I wrote was, if I have found a cache, chances are the next person behind me may find that cache as well. So I am going to take that cache, and if I know who it belongs to, then I'm going to let that person know I have your cache and you can come get it whenever you want it. However, it was compromised. I didn't want you to lose it, so I have it under my protection. It is still yours, just in my possession. Come get it when you're ready, okay? Now, if they don't come get it in quite a while, okay, then I'm going to assume that the ownership is transferred to me. On the other hand, if it is somebody I know, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to know whether that person is in good health or not. Okay. So maybe I need to go to them and say, hey, what can I do to help you? Okay. But it's the intention. My intention is to return it to its lawful owner in a good state and to protect it from other people who are not going to be as willing to get it back to the rightful owner. So I think the intention there is everything. When we start talking about, what are we going to do with the cash that we find on the side of the road? And so, and I see somebody says, leave it. Shenanigans. Good evening. Good to see you. I don't know. If I leave it, then my friend, somebody I know, has lost it because the next group that behind me, they're going to take it. I guarantee you they're going to take it. They'll have no qualms. I don't know. Is there a right answer? I don't know if there is a right answer. That's one of those ones where I'll go with my feelings on that, and my feelings say I'll safe store that for them for a while. Never know. They might even give you a reward for taking care of it for them. Should a survivalist keep his or her survival and preparedness interests a secret? What do you think? Simi says she wouldn't leave it there either, especially if she knew who it was belonged to. The next person who comes may just put it in their pocket. Absolutely. I think shenanigans makes a good point. We don't steal from anybody. Fioxers, I think you bring out a very, very good point. Our moral compass should guide us regardless of the situation. Stephen Covey refers to it as being true north oriented. And yes, if you're going to be, how do I say this? If you're going to be less than moral in the little things, you're going to be less than moral in the big things. And so, you've got to make up your mind. And that's part of what I want to do with this, these 2 deck of cards and the people I'm going to have on here in the near future, these conflicted cards. We're going to go through some moral questions and just get people's different opinions on how do we handle that. And I'm trying to talk to Mr. Jones, the author of this book, into joining us. We'll see how that works. And Utah Mike makes a very good point. There is nothing as desperate as a parent who has starving children. Okay, if my child or my grandchildren is starving, and I have an opportunity to feed them, relieve that pain, I will go without, but I will make sure that they eat. That's just the way it is. KF5 HCR 176 takes zinc and NAC for his lingering cough cold. Mine's emphysema, and I just found that out just a week ago tomorrow. But that's, we all have our challenges. What are the most probable emergencies that you can expect to face? What do you think? That was another good discussion on prepping for the long term on the Facebook page. And, originally I did this because of fear of nuclear warfare. And that's changed. I think that the stuff that Sarah Adams is talking about with the terrorist attacks, making October 7th look like child's play, making 9/11 look like child's play, I think that's highly probable. I think especially with the doing away with the visas for the Somalis today, that exacerbates some issues. I think that this left-right thing is getting way out of hand. Like I said, I saw some Antifa interviews today from up in Portland to Seattle, and that scares the living daylights out of me. Um, and that is not to say that that is strictly on that side. There's also some extremists on the other side as well. So both of those, when you get to the either extreme, that scares the living daylights out of me. China is, an issue. Venezuela, uh, than what we have going on in Europe. So there's so many things. I think financial collapse is highly probable. I think that a food shortage is very likely. So I think there's so many different things we can prepare for. Our grid going down. I'm in Central Texas. We've had two ice mageddons, and they're predicting a colder than normal winter this year. We don't have snow here in the Austin area. We have ice, and so when we get ice, our power grid goes down up to 2 weeks. And so we don't have, because we get ice once every 3 years, and maybe we might get a flurry of snow that lands overnight and melts by 10 o'clock in the morning. So we don't have, all of our stuff is not buried deep underground like up north. And we don't have snow removal equipment. And we don't have all the different winter stuff that everybody, I'm going to say maybe from Oklahoma North does have. We just don't need it. That's like, does Miami need ice removal equipment or snow removal equipment? No, we just don't. You do what you do for the climate that you have. That's like, I'm not so sure that there's as much air conditioning up in Alaska as there is here in Texas. I can guarantee you that. So, oh, that's true, Phioxerus. I saw a meme yesterday, and it was talking about the 5 states of Texas, and so you had the West, you had the North Panhandle area, you had the Northeast, you had the Southeast, and then you had the mountain, the what they call it, Hill Country. And then a 6th enclave that was out all by itself was Eastern California, and it was right around Austin. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. We've also got the same thing going on in enclaves in Houston and in San Antonio. El Paso is very leftist, as are parts of Dallas. And of course, Crockett is having her seat removed from the Dallas area, so that's going to be an issue there too. So, Utah Mike says to find a positive reason to fear. So let's define that. I think nobody does it for 100% positive reasons. There's got to be something that says this is an unmet need. You can call that a fear if you want to, but here is a stimulus, a negative stimulus. Nobody reacts to positive stimulus as much as they do a negative stimulus. So here's a negative stimulus, and here is a need and something you can do to eliminate the fear of the negative stimulus. So I'm going to say that I think the vast majority of people prepare be out of intending to make good out of possible bad. I don't know if that's, I guess in some people's eyes, that's doing it out of fear. In my opinion, it is recognizing a threat and doing what you can to alleviate the threat to the greatest extent possible. Let's see. I worked at Target years ago. I helped a customer. She was Christmas shopping. I saw her envelope full of cash, and I later found that envelope in the aisle. I found her and returned it to her. It was like $1,000. Yeah, we had, when I was doing union avoidance work, we would have 2 consultants to a car. I was working the midnight shift, and then this other guy was working I had 12-hour shift, and it was overnight. He was working the day shift, and he had gassed up the car and paid cash and had dropped a $100 bill next to the seat, and I returned it to him. he said he had lost $100. I said, well, I found it. Here it is. Oh, I had some business cards made. Gosh, this was right at the turn of the millennium, and for my HR consulting business, and they looked like folded over $100 bills, and so it looked like $200 or $300 bills folded over. And then when you opened it up, it had all my business information, my business card on the inside. So what I would do is every once in a while, I'd just go in and throw it on the floor and see what people did. And there was this one lady, and she went over and quickly stepped on it, and then just stood there. She wouldn't move at all. She kept talking to people, wouldn't move or anything. And then she finally didn't see anybody looking at her, so she thought. She reached over, bent over, picked it up, and she was very disappointed. It was my business cards and not $300. And I just kind of snickered, but that kind of told me she had no intentions of returning it. At least that's the way I interpreted those actions. So that kind of tells you the integrity of somebody. When you can test them and see how they respond to it, that gives you some idea of how they are. Okay, let me see. So, most probable emergencies. Okay, no more comments on that. What are the major catastrophic events and trends that survivalists may face in the coming decades? So what do you think can happen over the course of the next 10 years? What are some of your things? Number one is a penny shortage because they've stopped manufacturing them. I saw an article today, Fort Hood, just right up the road. They're talking about having a micro nuclear power plant built at Fort Hood. So we've got one nuclear power plant up in Dallas. We've got another one down here in Houston. Now we're going to have one halfway in between the two, a little one at Fort Hood. Utah Mike says economic, and the way that the dollar is going in comparison to gold, silver, the stock market, other world currencies, I have a tendency to agree with you. Fiacra says a financial event. I agree with that. We've been playing with our money ever since Nixon took us off the gold standard. And I think that's going to come up and catch up with us. And I don't think it's necessarily going to start in the U.S. I think that there's an awful lot going on in Europe and China. China is really having some major economic and financial distress. And then, of course, Russia is on the verge of revolution because of its financial collapse, because of the tariffs. I would have a tendency to, you guys are making a wise prediction, I think. Digital ID, L-Dog says. Yeah. Digital ID definitely is going to eliminate most of your privacy as we know it today. They'll be able to track every transaction. They can stop those transactions. They'll be able to, like right now, the SNAP, which is in TANF. So it used to be that for food stamps, you had a stamp. I was on food stamps back in 1971 as a private first class in the Army. In Monterey, California, I made $123.50 a month, and my rent was $105 for an efficiency apartment. And I shared the bathroom with two other families, and we were a married PFC. So we were eligible for food stamps. They gave you little stamps. You could go to the grocery store and trade those for whatever. But the bad thing about that was you could overpay for something, get cash back, and then use that to buy either cigarettes or alcohol. Now with SNAP and TANF, it's an EBT. Or is that right? EBT, whatever. It's a credit card basically. So it's basically like a debit card, electronic debit transaction, EDT. Yeah. So anyhow, So they load that from their computer. You go to buy something, there are certain codes, barcodes, that if you try to pay for that with with your debit card, it's not going to allow you to pay for that, and it's not going to allow you to have cash back, so you can do what we did 60 years ago, 55 years ago. So yes, it's going to greatly limit those things you can and cannot purchase. Uh, the Canadian dollar is going to collapse. You and I have been talking extensively about that. And I don't think it'll be just the Canadian dollar. AI gives me very sketchy feelings economically and spiritually. Scott Hammer, absolutely. I agree with you. My earthly mom's grandson runs that huge data center in Round Rock near you. Wow. And they're building another one in Taylor. And the question is, how are we going to power those? The power drain on our. We have not built any new power plants. We've been retiring power plants, so our power production is going down, but power demand is going up. It's crazy. We've got all these wind turbines that are not producing as much as they should. We've got all these solar fields that are not producing what they should. We've got an awful lot of hydroelectric, and then we've got a drought going on here in Central Texas. So the Lower Colorado River Authority has 5 hydroelectric dams on the Colorado River, kind of like the Tennessee Valley Authority. And we are not producing or generating the electricity we should be as a result of that. Same thing with the Hoover Dam. Hoover Dam is very close to actually having to shut down their power generation because of the water level on the Colorado and Lake Mead. So yeah, it's getting crazy. The social credit score is pretty much here already. Privacy is what it used to be. This is from Suzanne Clay. We are monitored as we watch, read, do stuff online. Yeah, everything. I saw Senator Kennedy was talking to somebody who wanted a job, and he says, "Well, you liked this post on Facebook, 5 years ago, and that tells us that this you agree with this sentiment." And I went, "Whoa." Imagine they can go back 5 years ago and find out what you liked and disliked and loved and everything else on Facebook, and then use that against you because it shows your political support or political lack of support for certain topics. Uh, Patty's Garden says she fears that so many are not preparing and yes, that's going to be the golden horde coming to your place. Absolutely. And so that's what we're talking about here is should you keep it secret or not? Okay. My intention is to keep it secret to the extent that I can. Now, 5 years ago, I asked my neighborhood, can we get together and make plans? I had 3 people show up. I haven't asked since then. I won't do it again. We're getting too close to it happening. I don't want to let people know that I'm prepared. Uh, there are people, as a matter of fact, I just finished another USB. So to a couple of the guys who are invited over, I'm going to deliver them USBs. This is what you have to do in order to come over. These are the radio frequencies we'll be on. These are the call signs. Please don't come over, after the first 72 hours. So we're going to 0 to 72 hours. You can do whatever you want. Come on over, do anything. Between 72 hours and the end of 4 weeks, do not come anywhere close to the house. I don't want anybody to know I'm alive. I don't want anybody to see any lights on, hear any noise. As far as the world's concerned, I'm dead. Okay. After the 4th week, then they can come over. Okay. But they've got a very slim line there, 72 hours to make it over here. If they don't do it. Okay. I won't answer the door. That's all there is to it. I think we're going to be disappointed to learn that data centers are more important than people. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that what was that movie? iRobot. I fear that Will Smith movie. I think that is going to come to fruition as well as the Terminator series. I think those are very accurate predictions of the future. Let's see. You Tell my kids, yes. How many are living on the financial edge? How many are living 3 meals away from starvation? Absolutely. When you do the work that I do, volunteer work, as far as as far as helping people who are in that situation, I was helping a young man, 18 years old. His father passed away. They were in rent subsidized housing, and he worked at the dollar store across the street. So, because he didn't have a car, didn't have a driver's license, didn't have anything, I got him a free bicycle. Uh, but then he called me. He says, "What am I going to do for food? It's too far to ride the bike to buy food." And I said, "Well, you don't need to be buying food, I mean, McDonald's or anything like that. You need to be cooking. You need to stretch your money as far as possible." And he said, "I don't know how to cook. My dad did all the cooking." And so I had to basically buy a cookbook and cooking equipment and teach him how to cook. And yeah, there's an awful lot of people out there like that. You're absolutely right. Uh, that's a great question, Utah Mike. When will we know that it started? I have a feeling that it's already started. They had what they called the fake World War One before it actually started. And then, of course, we had the fake World War II before it started. China's incursion into Manchuria and then into Nanking and China. I'm sorry, Japan's. We had the Sudetenland. We had the incursion into Poland. We had all these different things by the Nazis. We weren't even going to get involved after they invaded France. Uh, we were pretty much isolationist. We probably would not have been involved in Europe. Most people don't realize it. We declared war against Japan. We did not declare war against Germany. So we declared war against Japan on December 7th, or December 8th, I'm sorry. December 7th was the attack. December 8th, Congress met. That was a Monday, and declared war. On December 9th, Germany, which was in a mutual defense pact with Japan, because we declared war on Japan, Germany declared war on the United States. So we never did, originally declare war on Germany. It was Germany declared war on us. So yeah, so there's the world, mesh is really something. So I think it's already started, and we're in that cold thing now where it will. The minute it blows, it will blow, and it won't be. We're in that gradual phase now, and it's going to get to the explosion part. If you consider having an all-knowing entity spying on everything you do to be SHTF, it has begun. I agree with you, Suzanne. Utah Mike says anybody can cook ramen noodles. Well, guess what? Just came in the mail. So my newest book. I am really getting into studying Asian cuisine, the hibachi. I got in a ramen bowl set today. I'm ordering one of the little square. I forget what it's called. It's the Japanese equivalent to an omelet. So you put the egg in, roll it, and then you flip it a little bit, put more egg in, roll it. But I'm getting one of those. That should be delivered tomorrow. I'm really getting into ramen, and I've ordered all kinds of stuff to support that because I think that's going to be one of our most fuel efficient, carb loaded, and calorie loaded foods that we can have in a post apocalyptic world. And it's going to last the longest. We had pasta and tomato sauce this evening, and I watched a video earlier today from this guy, and it was basically using egg, which is carbonara, and tomato sauce on ramen, which is basically, if you take a look at it, that's really a carbonara spaghetti sauce, on noodles. So yeah, I agree with you. I think everybody should take a look at ramen. Do a lot of really good investigation into ramen. Somebody recommended that I make a video on it. Comments to my Saturday pepper haul. I intend to do that. So we'll see what goes on. Yeah, so that's why Utah Mike in the Japanese style of ramen, there are ingredients, and one of them is fats. So that they include that in their ramen bowl. Now, when you just get the packet Maruchan, and it just has a little packet of seasoning and a little packet of dried vegetables, yeah, you aren't getting anything. So it depends on how you define ramen. Okay, if you define it as the classical Japanese Korean ramen, then there is fats added to it. It is a completely well balanced meal. If you look at it as being the instant stuff that we have here in the United States, they're famous for college, then no, that's uh, a very poor uh, preparedness meal. So Shenanigans says to boil the ramen for 1.5 minutes, then drain. Add to a frying pan with oil. Add stuff from the seasoned packet, meats, and veggies. Uh, so one of the ones we had what was called katusa serving us in the Korean. In the U.S. Army, we had katusa, which is the Korean Army to the U.S. Army. And so we always had these katusas who were helping us in ours, and they were supposed to be our translators and things like that. And they always had ramen available. And so they make what they call budijjigae. Budejjigae. There we go. And but it was ramen, a bowl of ramen, and they would pick it up at the commissary or at the PX. And then inside that ramen, they would put barbecue beans, they would put Vienna sausage, they would put spam. Um they would go to the local market and they would get some what's that cabbage that they have, a little bitty cabbage with long leaves. But anyhow, they would get that. A couple other things, of course, gochujang and gochugaru, which is their spicy sauce as well as their spicy powder. Throw that in there. Then they would take an egg and crack it in on top and lay that on top and then boil it all together with the ramen. And that's how they made an entire meal out of a bowl of ramen. So they were basically eating an entire meal and getting everything they needed for right around $1 at that time. Kimchi was essential. That you will never see a Korean have a meal without kimchi. That is, uh, kimchi is at every single meal. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at my last Pepper Pantry haul, you'll see that I found some freeze-dried kimchi, and I got a quart of freeze-dried kimchi in my last um, Pepper Pantry haul. When I came home from Korea, because I had lived with the Koreans, so I actually was attached to the Korean CIA, and because I was with them and lived like them 5 days a week, and then I went to Yongsan Air Base for the weekends, and so I could eat greasy hamburgers, but and bacon and eggs and stuff like that. But I was eating Korean food 3 meals a day, 5 days a week. Well, actually, a little bit more than that because up until and Sunday evening and everything else. So but anyhow, that gets into your pores and into your clothing, and Helen didn't like the sound of it, smell of it, so I ended up getting new uniforms as a result of it. Uh, yeah, I just got my last. I'm probably not going to renew it. I think I showed you that in my last Pepper Pantry haul. I've been a subscriber now for 40 years, and so last issue they said I'm up for renewal, and I'm just probably not going to renew. Uh, it just doesn't have the same value to me that it used to. So, uh, so let me see. This is Shenanigans says that her husband adds eggs to his ramen, eats Vienna sausage, hates spam. Yeah, different people have different likes. The largest consumers of spam are in Korea and Hawaii. Now, I have no problem with spam. Spam is basically nothing more than the ham that we had in our old Meal Combat Individual MCI ham cooked uh, with spices. That's what it was. Now, it's not my favorite thing. I'm not going to go out and order it, but if I have it and it's a meal, I will eat it. That's for sure. There are a couple things that way. I don't care for oatmeal. I know oatmeal is a very, very common prepper food as well, but I can't eat oatmeal. It's the consistency going down. I feel like I've coughed something up and regurgitated it. Okay, let me see. Money. I'm afraid of. So cats are prepping asks why break a 40-year tradition, and I'm just afraid of the financial situation. So I'd rather put that money somewhere else. Shenanigan's husband is Hawaiian and hates kimchi. I'm not kimchi. Spam. Yeah, Sophie Oxford says he quit a magazine as well for the same reason. Yeah, 1,100 calories per can, and yeah, I mean, it's just there are so many good things about it, and if you fry it, if you cook it, if you put it into your kimchi, it's gosh, uh, I think I probably got. I don't know. I don't even know if I have it on my spreadsheet. I can't call up my spreadsheet to keep me out of this. I probably have 48, 50 cans of Spam. If I'm the only one eating, I'm the only one eating. So let's talk about what scares me. Okay, we are at page 14. We're at question 14. We'll come back with number 15 next week. Start there. My two fears. I'll be honest with you. My two biggest fears are when SHTF happens, whatever it is. Number one fear, fire. Fires scare me when we have firefighting equipment and firefighters readily available. If we can't notify and there isn't anybody there to come respond to the fire and fight the fire, then entire areas are going to be wiped out. It's going to be just like the LA fire last summer. It's just fires can spread so rapidly and consume so much. And it's so difficult to fight them, even with proper equipment. And after SHTF with no equipment, that's going to be one of my biggest fears. The other big fear that I have is my thoughts. Remember that I had a disaster response company, and so after Hurricane Katrina, I went to Pass St. Christian in Mississippi, and so. The images of, what is it, the Superdome in New Orleans, am I saying that right? The images of all the fecal matter coming out of the restrooms because the sewage system had backed up, and that raw sewage coming out and just being out among people. I know that I have plans to handle my sewage and my waste, my human waste as well as my other waste. And so I have plans on how to handle that. There's 120 other families in this neighborhood. I'm not sure that they have the same consideration or the same fear or respect for what raw sewage can do as far as health issues within a community. So those are my two big fears. It is not necessarily what's going to happen: nuclear war, World War III, terrorists, financial collapse, food shortage, anything like that. What scares me are two very tangible things that scare the living daylights out of me: fire and sewage. And so that's kind of where we are. Okay, so we're at an hour. Let's shut this down. We got 14. I think that's pretty good. We'll see if we can't do another 14 next week. So, Book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. I've only heard a couple of responses back to our question of when would it be best, when would you like to do Conflicted, and would anybody like to be on the show? I've got 4 fantastic people, all preparedness with lots of experience. And so I'm thinking about Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've got a couple people on the East Coast who say that starting at 9 for them, when we do 8, is a little bit late. And so they would like to do it a little bit earlier. So if I do it on a Saturday at 7 p.m. my time, which would be 8 p.m. on the East Coast, we might be able to get a little bit more participation out of the East Coast. Okay. So I'm thinking about Saturdays at 7 o'clock. What do you think? If you have a problem with that, let me know. Send me an email. Uh, remember, it's coldwarprepper@outlook.com. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your input. Thank you for taking care of each other. So happy you spent some time with me, and thank you for allowing me to give my ideas on things, and hopefully it gives you a little bit of something to go on. I know that you give me an awful lot to go on. So remember that we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Please don't plan on being a lone wolf. You will not survive. We have to do this together. Uh, Thank you for continuing to be kind, polite, and respectful with each other. Uh, Happy Thanksgiving. Um, you know, I've told everybody who was praying for me, who knew that the challenges I had physically, uh, and I have told them, now is the time to change over from prayers of concern to prayers of praise and thanksgiving. Because, we got, I mean, there are some people who would complain about being diagnosed with emphysema. I am so happy that it wasn't cancer. So, everything is relative in life. You have your advantages and your disadvantages and everything. Just remember, I want to make it through this with you. We're all in this together. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Have a fantastic Thanksgiving, and please stay safe. Bye-bye.